Javier, 3 stages of hell in Berlin in 2 weeks. Drew McIntyre challenging Cody Rhodes for the championship. Any chance that Drew wins the title and we get a shocker to kick off, I guess, the start of the new season here of 2026 in a couple weeks?
Well, I mean, I suppose there is a chance.
Well, how much of a chance? Yes,
I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's the old heel wins the first fall and then the baby faces take up the next two.
What do you think of the way that this reveal took place tonight? Where Drew McIntyre had to pay a fine, apologize to the referee, and I mean, great Drew. He, to the letter of the law, satisfied the requirements, and then tore into the referee. Said he was a wannabe wrestler who embarrasses his wife and kids. And then Cody came out to the defense of the poor referee, very Cody-like. And then Drew tried to antagonize him into hitting him, so Cody would be stripped of the title. Cody inadvertently hits Nick Aldis with a back elbow, breaking free. And then Drew, who actually should have let Cody come after him rather than give him a Claymore. That was the one miscalculation. I guess he couldn't resist going after Cody with a Claymore when he had a clear path. But if you wanted Cody to really pay a bigger price, you probably would have let him hit him. So, yeah, I mean, what would you think of the angle after the announcement of the 3 stages of hell match in Berlin in 2 weeks on SmackDown?
Yeah, I mean, analyzing it, I think it works for the majority of the audience. It's just a story I've seen like 100 times by now.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of road and been there. So I personally not super excited outside of Drew McIntyre's just being just a slime ball and really knowing how to deliver those like really despicable lines and, just really get under somebody's skin that you are rooting for Cody just to slug him. Once you start analyzing like, why is Aldis accepting that as an apology? I was actually kind of hoping for them to do kind of like a shift in things where Aldis says, "Hey, look, he can't touch you until after he can't touch you after you apologize. I'm not accepting that as an apology," and then let Cody get some in that respect to just shake things up a little bit. But as far as it went, it was it was fine. I think works on the audience. You do want to see Drew get his butt whooped as much as you can with with the lack of suspension of disbelief that exists today. But it overall worked.
So how good is Drew right now compared to any other Drew McIntyre run as a heel, recent or more distant past? It's a loaded question, but I mean, I just thought, he knows who he is and he's delivering it well. And at times he's come across sort of sympathetic, like he's making a good argument and you almost see his side of things. This was, a delightful heel who follows the letter of the law, outwits the GM, because there's nothing that stops him from, after apologizing to the referee, trying to emasculate and humiliate him. And then it's taunting a Cody. I mean, your daddy, I'll see him in hell. It's a bit of obviously a cliche triggering line, but you can understand if you're playing to a general wrestling fan audience, they're going to think those are fighting words for Cody. So I don't know. I thought his delivery was great, and I can totally see it's an argument in favor of not having this ambiguity and ambiguity between characters leading to ambivalence with the audience. I would think everybody watching at home, or just about everybody, is excited to see Cody go after Drew, even if there's part of them that respects Drew and they find him entertaining.
Yeah, I think as far as the heel's concerned, I think this is probably the best heel in Drew in WWE. I would have to turn back to a time where that's buried in my head to think about in the Indies, the stuff that he was doing in the Indies. But I think WWE it is the strongest. I think that there was a better story that you could have told than just bad guy being really disrespectful almost to an MJF level. Really hitting really low, just not to the well, I mean, no, he actually did say the dead parent thing.
Yes.
But, but they don't do it as often, and it didn't feel as, because as I was listening to all the like heinous things, I wish your family was on the bus and, your children, it was like really low stuff. And I'm like, and I was actually thinking, honestly, like, again, I've seen like that story like 100 times, so I wasn't really engaging with it as, I was watching from a further like personal distance. And I was thinking at that time where, okay, why isn't this bothering me as much as Other times, I think it's just because WWE doesn't do it as much. They don't go into the onto that level as much as other times, and they usually save it for one, for one person to do it. So, and it's Drew, and Drew does it masterly too. I mean, personally, I would have preferred if they had gone more of the, based on like the parallel paths they took in life, rather than just, this just, we got to kill each other, kind of, thing. And, it's going to because that was the other thing I was thinking, is like, what is going to be the stipulation? And one of the things I was thinking was, no champions, but I think they had already done that. No champions advantage. But the three levels of hell is kind of like not done to death as often. So I think it's a good way to end this feud, because after this we got Royal Rumble. I'm sure that Cody is going to be, for whoever wins the Rumble, or whoever wins Elimination Chamber, it will be his next his next dance partner.
What is the argument for? I'm not talking about what are the odds of it happening, but what is the argument for Cody dropping the title to Drew in 2 weeks? Like, if you had to make the pitch, or another way to look at it, and is kind of like with Dom and the shoulder injury. If something happened to Cody where he could get through the match but needed to take time off for an injury, and you had to put it on Drew, what are the positives of that happening? Not that you're rooting for an injury.
I really don't think at this point, with WrestleMania just like 4 months away, that it really, because I mean, he's been holding that title, and he hasn't been, I've mentioned a few times already, he hasn't really been the leader of the plots that he's been involved in. His feud with Seth Rollins was more of a Seth Rollins centric plot. He's kind of been more like the guy holding the title and, supporting other people around him as a leader, right? So I think that, you could do it, but then I start thinking like, okay, the only positive again, if like Drew ends up having to win it for whatever reason, is that you have the opportunity then to make another guy a Dragunov, or a after his the run that he had with some great matches, maybe go to Sami Zayn, that way Sami Zayn wins the Rumble in Saudi, and then challenges Drew for it, and coordinate Sami. There are some things that you could get out of it, but I think that I don't think they're really I think they should be more in the business right now of creating your future stars. And I think that the Carmelo Hayes winning today, the fact they put Vicaire, gave the title to Vicaire very early, I think that is good. The fact, the way that they today they what they did for Lash today,
Trick Williams too.
Trick Williams being one of the ones now that they're pushing as the free agent, and he's going to both shows to see to try to get the best deal. You have Obafemi's also been showing up and stuff like that. I think it's and then you have Braun Breaker having the big match with CM Punk, and probably something WrestleMania. You got a lot of new blood. They've done a lot of work with the women, mainly showing up in the tag division, and I think they're starting to do a good job with the men now. And I mean, Carmelo Hayes winning, I think, was part of that, and so you'll be able to have that. That would be I don't want to say positive, if for whatever reason Cody has to drop it. That would be the best positives, that you could then have someone beat Drew for that. Yeah.
Babyface can beat Drew for it, and I mean, I'm not ready to just go, well, let's bench Drew, and as a centerpiece lead heel champion, and put somebody less proven but younger in that spot. I'm not ready to say that. I get the argument. I mean, there's sometimes you want to put fresh people in, boom period. You stave off a down period after a boom period by not staying with the people who gave you the boom period too long with the same recycled matches. But I think there's a middle ground. You can have Drew in the midst of that. I think what we see, though, is these really long feuds. I mean, Seth and Punk and Drew and Cody, it's just like they're in the same feud forever. What you want to, the same feud forever. What you want to see is some fresh people who are ready to get in that mix. And we got some of that tonight. I want to get into that in sort of block B as we move past our introduction here. And talk about what you brought up, the idea that, hey, there is some influx of new talent, a sense of a new year, or a fresh start to the new year right around the corner with some new names and the whole free agent bit that they're playing up with the NXT free agents. So let's pause and introduce ourselves in the show. We'll throw some comments from the chat up on the screen and react to them based on our conversation so far, and then get into how things look going into 2026 on SmackDown and WWE in general. This is a Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show on Friday, December 26, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, founder of Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter, the website, PWTorch.com, and host of various podcasts, including the Wade Keller Podcast, Red Logo Show, and Blue Logo Show. The Red Logo shows are post shows following Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, and the Blue Logo shows are main podcasts, along with pay-per-view previews, interviews, some cool flashbacks, and more. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app to subscribe to both the Red and Blue Logo Show, and search PW Torch to subscribe to the PW Torch Daily Cast, which includes shows with different hosts, different pairs of hosts, different themes and focus or foci, weekly specific subject matter each day of the week. Check it out. Search PW Torch. We are here talking. That was my speed reading, Excalibur, plugging the lineup for World's End and next week's Dynamite. Getting through the basics there. But we are here tonight, day after Christmas, talking about a pre-tape, by the way, episode of SmackDown. It was taped last week. People internationally got to watch it on Netflix in an abbreviated fashion, roughly 70 minutes of content. And then those of us who watched on USA Network, it felt normal. And if you didn't know it was pre-taped, I don't think it was real obvious. Although, was it one of the announcements? I think it was Graves said, I'm going to have to cancel my Christmas plans. And Cole said, Christmas already happened, Graves, at some point in the show. So I don't know. It might have been intentional by Corey, but that was that. So anyway, we are here to talk SmackDown, and my co-host is Javier Machado, longtime PW Torch contributor, writes pay-per-view preview articles, hosts acknowledging WWE on the PW Torch Daily Cast lineup. Javier, great to have you here, co-hosting with me the day after Christmas.
Yep, happy to join you, and I called it.
Yes.
Weekend, so.
Yes. I am feeling like I had too many Christmas cookies yesterday, I'm not used to that much sugar and just that much energy being expended with a bunch of dogs coming over and meeting each other for the first time while the family's trying to play board games and stuff. It was a blast. It was fun. Hope everybody out there who celebrates it had a very nice Christmas yesterday and has a chance to recover a bit this weekend, including kicking back and watching the AEW World's End pay-per-view tomorrow night. We will have a live post show. Brandon LeClaire and Taylor Haley will be on the Wrestling Night in America show right after World's End concludes. And so join us here on the PW Torch YouTube channel for that, or on the PW Torch Daily Cast feed to download the show, which will be uploaded after the live stream on YouTube concludes. So search PW Torch. Be sure to do that. Also, VIP members will get access to the VIP roundtable following the show. And we've been doing that for over 20 years, post pay-per-view roundtable. So if you're not VIP, go VIP. PWTorch.com/go VIP gives you details on all the benefits of supporting us with a VIP membership and enhancing your experience and greatly expanding the offerings that come with the hard work that we all put in here with PW Torch VIP. So check it out, PWTorch.com/go VIP. All right. So join us on the chat. I already mentioned that if you're watching us live on YouTube. You can also email us, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com. And you can also be a video caller if you are watching us live. The link to be a video caller is in my TV report, running down what happened on SmackDown tonight at pwtorch.com. All right. Let's throw in some comments here before we shift into looking ahead to the new year with a mix of stars, including Carmelo's big win and Trick Williams showing up, Obafemi vignettes, Stephanie Vaquer getting a push, some fresh names moving up. But let's give some attention to some of the chat room comments on our first conversation. First up, Sean Dennehy says Drew absolutely needs the win. Cody can earn his title shot back at the Rumble or the Chamber. I'd love to see Obafemi come in and immediately face Drew for the belt. Derek Hubbard says Drew and Oba at Mania would be interesting. Is it a big enough match to be a Mania title match? And then Real Legend adds, if Drew were to win, I don't want it to be a short title reign. So there's a scenario. Just have Obafemi win the Rumble, choose to face Drew. You have a super fresh matchup at WrestleMania on one of the two nights, if you're confident that you have a women's world title match or a non-title singles match that can headline night one, you can put the non or whatever the other title match ends up being on the other night, if you don't think Drew versus Obafemi is strong enough. So I don't know. I mean, Javier, how does that strike you? Oba getting it fits the idea of getting a new star off to a big start against a guy like Drew, and also just the initial comment from Sean Dennehy, which is Drew needs the win. It can define Drew down a bit if he fails again.
The thing is, because I'm mainly looking at WrestleMania, and I don't think there's any way outside, like I said, something like you brought up that maybe an injury or something, but there's no way that Cody's not involved as one of your two main events. They've invested way too much in him, so they're not going to choose Drew and Oba over Cody. I mean, I could see all things failing, Cody and Oba, since they've already had a few crossovers and that match got blown up. I could maybe see here's a potential way that you end up WrestleMania with Drew as the champion defending would be if Drew, it's a triple threat with Drew, Oba, and Cody. Drew wins the hell thing, the 3 stages of hell, and then doesn't give Cody his rematch, and then Cody has to win it through Elimination Chamber or the Rumble. With then Oba getting involved, maybe one of those. When was the last time we had two people get eliminated at the same time? One of those kind of stories that they end up doing, or in some way turn it into a triple threat. So if you want to get Oba in there in the match, particularly if you kind of want to protect Cody, if you have a much stronger idea for like your A main event, and you don't want to have like the appearance that one, let's say you have like Roman Reigns and somebody, I'm talking about backstage politics, obviously now. If you have Roman and somebody, headlining one, you don't want to make it look like they're both competing for like, the which is the better main event. You kind of want one that's the sure main event, and the other one, is like, oh, well, we're going to do a triple threat. Still important, but that's all politics, and I'm delving into possible politics there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, likely you're going to end up with Cody, likely with Roman. They've already had moments with set up in the War Games thing. They weren't getting along. That's most likely, having them go for a third time would end up being the most likely thing with him. You could, if you want to give Drew McIntyre the feel good, I've lost it, I finally won the title, and then just drop it, that way you can keep Cody off of the Rumble match itself and have him drop it to Cody at the Rumble. You could do something like that where it's just like a short time. The problem with that is that the 3 stages of hell should be the kiss off to that match.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen them do one extra match after that, occasionally, and it could be something that they might do because their next big event would be the Saudi Royal Rumble. So that could be the non. Chances are you're going to get the 2 Rumbles and like probably 2 to 3 other championship matches. That could be your championship match for that one. That also won't overshadow the Rumble itself, because this would be like the 1 billionth time we see them together. So there are ways you get around it, but I think that the simplest solution would be just have that be the done deal. Oh crap! Then I'm thinking they probably are going to want Cody involved. So I mean, yeah, maybe Drew wins and then Cody wins it back at Rumble. That really is the only like other way that I could think that Drew might end up winning.
Yeah.
And I do agree. I do agree with the idea that he should win it because he has failed, spectacularly a few times now. He did win it for like 5 seconds, but obviously lost it to the cash in. But yeah, I do think that you probably want to get that title on him or take him out of the picture for a bit.
Derek Mitchell says, why is it assumed Cody will successfully win the 3 stages of hell match? In my opinion, it is set up for Drew to win the title in Berlin, Germany. So there's a prediction / vote for that. Did they do a good enough job? Like Drew says, it's going to be in Berlin. It took till the end of the segment for Cole, I believe, to clarify when that event is taking place. I don't think the average viewer is watching going, oh, Berlin, I have that on my calendar in 2 weeks from tonight. And then they didn't explain what a 3 Stages of Hell match is. Last time WWE did it was, a dozen years ago in terms of on the main roster. And it's not like an annual staple. So, there's like generally 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years between them. So Cole could have said, or Graves could have said, oh, that's the match where da-da-da happens or whatever. But, they have, I guess, next week for it, or they can do what AEW does and assume people can do their own research and look it up. Or as Cody would say, don't make people watch shoulder content or do extra work. The show should be self-contained. So do you think they did more, or did I miss something where they did more to explain that, Javier?
Well, I had to go to Wikipedia and find out what the pay-per-views what the big shows between then and there are for it to go. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then I think it was in the chat that somebody had that question early on, and they said, oh, it's a SmackDown in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the answer is no. They didn't do a good job, and they should have done a better job. Yeah. A little AEW like in their,
particularly since it's recorded, And
I was just gonna add that. Yeah.
And that's the thing, and particularly now, because they're these last few shows have had like a lot of championship matches, so they feel like more important shows in that respect. So it's like, so you have a bunch of you have a big Raw, big SmackDown, big Raw, big SmackDown, and you're saying, oh, the Berlin one. I'm like, when's the Berlin one? You're not really helping me.
Right.
So
exactly.
That was kind of the issue with that.
We're going to bring Sean Plitch into the show in a few minutes, but he added in the chat, really good final segment all around. Drew should not get another title shot after this, but Drew is really dang good as an a-hole heel. And one more thing, if Cody lost, I wouldn't want to see him against Drew anymore, so I'd be curious where he goes next if he loses, and that is, he can be in a non-title feud. It's just, do you think Drew is deserving of more than being the guy who always comes up short, always the bridesmaid and not the centerpiece heel? It's a crowded field, and politics or merit or whatever. There are people who are, as you laid out, more likely to get those coveted final matches or top marquee billing matches than Drew for whatever reason. Well, okay.
And you got to remember that Drew was inserted in a lot of these because of injuries with the people that Cody was supposed to face. Because Kevin Owens going down was one of the reasons that they moved up the Drew McIntyre feud. I don't know what's going on with Randy. Do you know anything about that?
No. So, he gets extended time off. They're not going to rush him back in just to have him on TV. He's kind of in that almost part-time status in terms of let's just use him when it's going to be meaningful.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure we're going to be seeing him sooner rather than later if he's okay. That's what I was asking. What was the reason behind that? I could have seen them like pivoting to Randy earlier. And getting involved in the whole Drew mess. So, but no, it hasn't happened yet. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. What does Randy do between now and April?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We had a super chat here. I want to pull that up. Derek Mitchell, thank you for the super chat, Derek. The Drew Cody feud has quickly turned into another heated feud, the most heated for Drew since his feud with CM Punk. The Priest feud was mid. It is a heated feud, and they've been creative with it. Overall, I think they've done a good job. Well, let me say this: I think Nick Aldis has done a good job as the mediator of sorts, trying to act as logically and level-headedly as possible during all of this, including saying Drew's not the only person this has escalated to this stage. Cody's also a contributor to that. It seemed like he had a plan that seemed like it was dishing out some punishment and trying to humble Drew in a way where you're nodding along going, good, he backed Drew into corner. Drew's got to do the right thing now. And then Drew outsmarted him because he is such a weaselly heel and turned something that's supposed to be punishment for Drew into further escalating the situation. But I think they made it seem like you could believe Nick Aldis thought he had done what he needed to do, and you can also see that Drew would be obsessed enough and just enough of a scumbag or an a-hole to act out the way that he did. So I do think it worked great.
My problem with that is the order of events that happened, because when they show the negotiations between Drew and Nick, which is Nick has already given him like what the plan's going to be, that you need to apologize, you're going to get fined, and then Drew did his counter argument, but then the house invasion happened, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Did he not say I have to ask Cody and the negotiations were done when the home invasion happened? Because at that point is okay. Well, I have to run your counter through Cody, and then later in the later date, you find out that he said you forced me to make a bad deal. But it seemed to me the deal was done before Cody's home invasion. So I kind of lost the plot there a little bit. You're muted.
I feel like there was a point where, and I have to review it, but I thought that Nick could say I was backed into a corner leading to that, and then it just got escalated by Cody afterwards. I think there's an explanation in there, because I think I remember thinking it through kind of in the way that you did, and it made sense when he first said that. But nevertheless, I think it's allowed. Well, we talked a lot about Drew, and I'll throw one compliment on Drew, and then I want to talk about Cody's role in this too, because we talk about Aldis and Drew more. So Jack Reeves says Drew's promo was great, and if you're able to catch some of it, and if you're able to catch it, some very British unintentional humor, which involves making serious references using sarcastic mockery. And Darrell in the chat says, right now Drew is a solid heel, but if we're doing levels and comparing, he is at a lower level than Gunther. Drew is not seen as a top heel. You can bring someone in who will come off higher. So what do you think about that, Drew, compared to Gunther right now? Who's in a better position going into 2026?
Right now, Gunther. With the caveat, I don't know who his opponent's going to be. They're just trotting him out there to get them to soak in the booze. I don't know what's officially going to be next. I know they had him cross paths with CM Punk, but CM Punk now has other fish to fry. I think that's just to either whet our appetites for what's coming next for Punk and Gunther, or and hopefully his retirement. And so that's kind of the thing. With that caveat, I think Gunther is a better position right now, but it depends on what they do with him next. I think McIntyre would probably be there up there too. With, for me, Braun Breaker and the Vision, just because Braun Breaker and the Vision are fresh top guys, and I'm more interested in that right now than I am in Drew, which has been he's been doing this kind of heel, despicable heel since his heel turn. So it's been a while ago now.
Let's pivot to actually, Darrell says Drew felt like a bigger heel when he and Punk were going at it with each other. So, yeah, I mean, that seems pretty equal to me in certain ways. As far as Cody goes, I think Cody has an edge to him right now. He's fighting for the right causes, and I think he's doing so in a way that is consistent with his core character. And I think feuding with Drew is good for him. The downside just is, and like we're getting into it, it's time to see some people against fresh faces. There's just too much of the same few people on top for an extended period of time, and it seems like WWE's creative energy is has not been in elevating new stars, but in trying to figure out clever ways to sustain feuds for a very long time with people who have been on top for a very long time. But it doesn't take away from the performances being good. I think Cody has played his role with integrity to the point that's reasonable, and then has snapped also at points that are reasonable. I'm pausing because I'm like, is going to somebody's home and showing up at the front yard, can you defend that? And I don't think fans need a babyface who they can defend every one of their actions as prudent or reasonable when Drew has been antagonizing so much. I don't know if, I don't know how many mainstream viewers are like, ooh, I really relate to the notion of somebody not invading my private bus that has my name painted on the side in case my family and kids were there. It's not the most relatable line that Drew crossed, but if you look at Cody as a celebrity who deserves his own private bus, and sometimes his wife and kids are in there, and that's a sacred place, you can buy into it. And they've told that story consistently. So I think it works well enough. So how do you think, which kind of hit those bullet points, how do you think Cody is coming across in this? Has he been too full of himself? Last week it felt a little bit, and all this addressed that. With all due respect, Cody, I know you think I work work for you, or whoever had that line, that you don't work for me, I work for you. So Cody pushed past the limit a little bit, maybe, Javier, for some people. What have you thought?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, people, because it to me sometimes it felt like he pushed up to that limit, particularly when he's saying tells Aldis, you work for me.
When I hold this title, I work.
Yeah, when I hold this title, yeah,
I work for the fans. Is more what he said, but yeah.
Well, I mean, but yeah, there was that pause that's like, oh, that kind of seemed a little bit weird.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, I think overall, like, I looked at the whole entire story, and it's probably why I'm not. I mentioned I was not super invested, because I've seen it before. There's little bits here and there that are a little bit off. Like you mentioned, the bus attack doesn't really, had his wife and kids been in there, we're talking about a different thing.
If you had seen footage, let's say Cody's arrived. Cody is getting out of his bus at the top of the show, and you can see him. Saying, kissing Brandy or something, as she's kind of in the doorway waving goodbye, or Brandy goes, "Hey Cody, you forgot this." I mean, it'd be very contrived given what happened next. But if there's some evidence he was in the bus and they kind of worked that in, it might have resonated more. But and that Drew knew it. That'd be
yeah. So overall, like it's almost like I understand what they're trying to tell me without necessarily completely showing me. And I'm talking about, this is just like little details. It's not like, I'm not saying that it like blows open and destroys the storyline that they're telling. It's just that it's the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I think they've missed a few I's and missed a few T's for me to buy into the whole thing. Some of this on Cody's, reactions where, like, sometimes he teeters, he kind of redlines a few times, in his reaction, but that's, and instead of like, holding back, doing like anger over instead of seething, that kind of thing, things that I think someone would have directed him differently to react, to keep in the same ballpark, but not, some of the stuff that he's done or said. So if you had a time machine, go back and be like, okay, tweak these things, I think it would have been better. So it hasn't been like 100% smooth sailing, but like I said, when you're talking about like week to week, you kind of forget some stuff in between them. You only remember the highlights of what you saw the week before, so that those little, niggling doubts that you might have had when you watched it go away. Because I'm not really thinking anymore about, it being, overwrought attack because of the bus thing, because that was already like 3 weeks ago. So, now I'm more, it kind of fades into the background. And, when you're doing like a live story and you're trying to do something a little bit more complex, they kind of have to bank on that because it's live. And sometimes like, like things, the puzzle doesn't fit, like, they have little gaps in it, I don't think this has been so many gaps where it's been horrible, but it exists. Yeah.
And for clarification, Real Legend says he said he works for the fans, but Nick Aldis works for him. So that I was kind of fumbling. He's like, I don't work for you, I work for the fans, but he's also saying then Aldis works for him, and that's the heelish line. It wasn't saying I work for the fans, it was saying Aldis, you work for me, and that maybe Cody flubbed that line. He wasn't supposed to say it that way, because it's like, what makes you think the boss works for you and you're champion, or if that is what you think the perception is, that when you have that kind of leverage as champion, it's kind of like being the star player, the top paid player on a basketball on the NBA team. The coach kind of does work for you, I mean, like you can use your sway, as LeBron has done, to maybe oust a coach or two or three or four or five or six that isn't working for you. So, I mean, I get where he's coming from, and the whole QB1 thing plays into it, but it's a risky stance to take, to just publicly take a boss who's a babyface boss in Nick Aldis, who seems to try to do the right thing and hold his composure to kind of not emasculate him, but disrespect him a little bit. It felt insubordinate, but he's maybe thinks he balances it up by saying he works for the fans.
And that's one of the examples where it kind of feels a little bit, because I get what he's talking about when he says you work for me as long as I hold this, because he's talking about, he's the locker room leader, and he technically, I'm assuming they never said this outright, but we've seen some evidence of it where he could deny opponents and stuff. So if he wanted to, so he does have at least that level of control over his booking, which matches he's going to take. So that I get that, that part makes sense. But when you throw it in there kind of like that, it does lead you to believe that kind of seems like an elitist line too. So
yeah. And Jason D in Australia goes, Cody was saying we all work for the fans. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, when I heard him say it, or as my memory remembers it, it was when I hold this title, I work for the fans or something like that. But I don't even. I mean, I'm against philosophically, generically speaking, the wrestlers don't work for the fans. They should stop talking that way. They should frame this, and I don't mean this in real life, but I mean to make your wrestlers feel like stars. You don't want to make it feel like the wrestlers are rehearsing like they're American Idol contestants for the fans' approval. What you want to do is frame the wrestlers as you get to see them. You get to see them wrestle. It's your privilege to pay money to watch them fight, as opposed to you show up and you get to dictate whether they have entertained you sufficiently. By doing that for quite a while now, 15 plus years, you end up getting a Booker booed when he comes out to congratulate the winner, or console a loser in the case of John Cena's retirement match, and have that send off. So it's a dangerous game to play, and I want to, at every opportunity, if I'm WWE, I look for ways to rephrase things so you don't make it seem like the fans are there running the show as some gigantic focus group that you have to answer to. Well, in real life, that's true. I just don't think it should be true in canon. Javier, do you have any disagreement with that?
What you mentioned, I would more change that I work for the fans to I represent the fans.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yep. Perfect pivot. And that's what was done all the time before, John Cena had that moment. Have we entertained you? I hope we entertained you. It's like, what? No wrestlers ever said that before that. It's your privilege to see us fight. All right. And Jason D just adds, Cody was trying to say because he works for the fans and the fans are never wrong, right? It means his actions are justified.
I've got the actual line from your report. I'm QB1, damn it. He said that he is the law. I wish I had the Judge Dredd thing there. He said as long as he holds the WWE title, he won't work for him. He doesn't work for him, but rather he works for the fans. He says, "You, my friend, work for me," and they drop the mic.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Jason D said, it's okay for Cody to snap and show a heelish edge against dastardly heels. He needs to show a spine. It wouldn't be needed if he was facing other baby faces. Yeah, you just want to walk that line carefully. Like, you don't want Cody to be off-putting beyond what fans can look at as a justified and understandable and reasonable response to somebody who is being unreasonable. And, you want to have a fire with fire babyface, not someone who's going to be a wuss or a pushover or not stand up for themselves because they adhere too closely to some code of honor that ends up backfiring because someone else is finding loopholes. It's, so anyway, but I agree. I think it's how you do it. It's not that it can't be done, Javier, right? Yeah. And Durrell says, we need more of this Cody and less of the Cody we got for most of the year. This Cody the last few weeks has been the best of Cody and the Cody WWE needs going forward. Do you agree with that, Javier? My
one problem with that is that it really feels like they're trying to put a subtext of he's out of control. I don't particularly, I don't like it because they're kind of phrasing it in a negative way, not like, oh, I understand it. That's where I'm having a hard time vibing, where it feels like the way that they're presenting him feels more heelish than actual aggrieved babyface, an understandable aggrieved babyface. Mm-hmm. That's an issue with the presentation, I think, and some of it might be on the commentary team to kind of really guide you more in the direction. I don't think they've done the job of guiding you what they want you to think about that.
Yeah, I think that's well put. All right, so we said we talked about new stars. So we got Trick Williams interacting with Cody. How do you think Trick performed in that segment? Do you think somebody who's paid only peripheral attention to NXT or Trick Williams would look at that and go, "Oh, there's a guy who I'm intrigued to see"? And is his resume enough, as he listed it himself, to justify moving him maybe pretty quickly into a feud with Cody? I'm not saying that's what they're doing, because he's just in his office and Cody happened to show up too, and you might be planting seeds for way down the line. So yeah, just kind of your thoughts on the interaction there.
I mean, he looked good. What he was, it felt like he was scripted to speak, and it felt like WWE speak more than like he didn't really come across as authentic what he was saying. But he looked great, and I'm like, man, Yeah, I could, he looks like he could kill somebody. So I'm like, that's awesome. And he talks so briefly. I hope they make him like a, um, I don't like maybe like a Rampage Jackson kind of like that, kind of a, don't give any F's kind of character.
Yep.
But
feet up on the desk. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the vibe I got. But then he opened up and started speaking WWE scripting. So
what stood out as WWE scripting? Like you're throwing the bank at me, or
well, yeah, and like when he comes back and saying, what I don't even remember. That's the thing; it wasn't even memorable what he said because it was like, okay, this is what WWE says. So that was kind of the and that had the whole feel of he leaves the scene, and I could almost like picture his mindset as like, oh, wait a minute, I was on camera with this guy and I didn't really put my foot down. So then he came back to try to, hey, I look like a, punk walking out. So let me go ahead and like make sure everybody knows I'm not a punk. So that I would have probably rethought the way I edited that scene. But overall, like, I'm like, okay, I'm interested in the look, and let's make sure we get his voice more than, just the standard stuff that you just want to get these points across, which is what it was. It was like, I'm going to get my points across of like, what I've done and what my, let me give you my exposition instead of, it felt like exposition dialogue instead of character dialogue.
Derek Mitchell says, I don't like the narrative of NXT stars like Javon Evans and Trick Williams being portrayed as free agents. So there used to be drafts that didn't follow it closely. There wasn't a super great structure to things year to year in terms of how drafts work, or when they happened, or when there were exceptions, or when there were call-ups. So we don't really have a consistent foundation of conduct or structure that's being changed by this. But it is, I'm trying to think when else they've had. I mean, they've obviously done free agent stuff in the past, but this feels, to the best of my memory, the first time they've done it to this degree, where there's multiple NXT quote free agents floating around. What do you recall about them doing this before, Javier, and how do you feel they're doing? Do you like it as a concept, and do you think they're executing it well here?
Yeah, I mean, they did it previously. I think the whole stuff with Braun Breaker, there was them were going after Braun Breaker, and
was that
somebody?
Yeah,
and there was somebody else around that time too. They've done it with Vaquer, I believe, and Julia. There was some stuff with that. Some of the rest, because I remember Braun Breaker being the one that they were most hard going with, and there's somebody else I can't remember. But they've done it with other wrestlers, and I because they're already promoting NXT, and NXT is basically like they're no longer hiding the fact that they're a development brand. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. The way that they talk about Carmelo Hayes being a star. He got picked up, and and because he was drafted, but he might have been a bust because he hasn't won a title in how long. It lends you to tell those kind of sports stories. If you're going to bring him up as new blood, but you're not going to bring him up immediately as like a star, as a to like you're going to just belt him up immediately with one of the two big championships like they did with Vaquer. Then it's fine where he still has time to grow, because now he's in with no matter what his athleticism is now that's being counteracted by the veteran experience that wrestlers have been wrestling at that level have. So I think it's fine, and you can tell stories of people like what did you do with Carmelo today. We'll get into that. Do you miss the draft and NXT wrestlers being part of it? It's a two-part question, because you can miss the draft but not want to see part of it. It was kind of my stance. Yeah. Yes and no in terms of like, do I miss the draft? I think by doing what they've been doing with like trading here and there is fine. There, I think that at some point you might want to do like just put everybody in a bag and shake it up. To shake, to basically remove it when stuff starts feeling very stagnant. I do think that they probably could have used one back in like in the September period, where I think a lot of people were like especially down on the product. But So overall, I think the draft is a good thing as long as it's not necessarily annual and more like when it makes sense, right? And as far as NXT wrestlers, like I'd almost like half, when you have like a lot of NXT wrestlers to come up, yeah, why not? I mean, and have them also the way they've done it. I think it's been fine when it's open, and you occasionally get a NXT wrestler here or there. It was dangerous because I think didn't Carmelo go like 1 or 2, like really high up there?
Yeah, he was high up.
Yeah. So
he was in the first. He was in the first cluster. I don't know what overall he was. I knew a week ago what he was overall because I think I reviewed it. But yeah, he wasn't first pick, but he's first round.
Yeah. So
as they designated it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, but hey, on the bright side, you got good story today out of it.
Yes. Sean Denny, he goes, I don't mind the free agent thing when selective. Having Henry, Solo, Trick, Oba, and Evans all at the same time feels excessive. Real Legend goes, yes, Braun and Julia were the main other two. And Darrell goes, yeah, Braun was seen as a free agent. Hell, we can go back to when MVP came up. He used to call himself a big-time free agent. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's bring Sean Plitch to the conversation. Sean from Tennessee, and we have some other comments too we can get into, or other variations on this chat, especially Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov and what happened there, and it kind of plays into this whole draft bust storyline. But let's bring Sean in. First things first here. Sean, welcome. Good to hear from you. How was your Christmas?
It was very good. It was very relaxing getting to be with some family, and so that's always nice. I always enjoy that time, and this weekend I'll be off, so that'll be nice just to have a few more days to kind of, watching football, watching basketball, just hang out, just enjoy sports. That's what I love, sports, any kind of sport. I'm great. I love it.
There's plenty of that these days.
Yeah, man. Javier, good to talk to you again. I feel like it's been a while. I feel like it's been actually quite a while.
Hey, man, how's it going?
No, good. Well, going to the free agent, I'll talk about that real quick because we just brought it up. I do think being a free agent in their quote unquote land is good because it does make them feel wanted and like they're going after them, which I think that is good. I just liked back before when they had them, you had them do the job on the way out in NXT, and then you do vignettes for them and you make them feel important that way when they come in, and then it's a big deal when they get there. I would rather do it that way if I had my choice, but the way they're doing it, is fine. I mean, Trick, I will say, Javier, I'll have to go back and listen. Trick didn't feel WWE speak to me at all. I actually felt it felt real. It felt he was taking up the room. He was like, "This is who I am. I'm this. I'm that." I mean, he would always say that in NXT. I mean, he's very high on what he can do, and I just thought he came back and made himself feel like a star and made Cody be like, "All right, okay. I get you. Like I'm, whenever it's time, you're going to, whatever Cody's thinking in his mind, you're a star, you can be a big star, whatever." Mm-hmm. I thought it was good. I liked what Trick did. It was a little bit, but I thought it was really good for what he did. I mean, you can lash back at me on that. I mean, I don't watch wrestling enough to say, okay, this is not, but it didn't feel like it to me watching it live.
Yeah, it's just that it kind of felt like, the same kind of thing Miz would say, like, "Don't you know who I am? I'm this, and that, and the other." That's just kind of what kind of rubbed me a little bit on the wrong way, on the wrong side. I don't think it was like horrible or anything, but it was just like it was, different.
Yeah. So one thing I will say real quick, the beginning of the show was just bad, just all around. WWE has gotten a lot better. I mean, they've done some stuff with holiday shows, and they still do some things, but I feel like they were starting to get away from that a little bit. And where AEW's done some of the, Christmas stuff and Christmas holiday themed episodes and all that, where it really ruined it tonight. The first thing they're doing Hendry, all this stupid stuff with Miz and the trees and all that. I'm like, guys, come on, we're finally getting away from this. This does not make Joe Hendry. If people love Joe Hendry, this does not make him feel like a big deal. It's make him feel like a joke, and this is not a way to get him over in any way. What did you guys think about that? First of all, was that just going back to the old WWE stuff?
I believe Joe Hendry is a bit of a joke and does belong in comedy segments. I mean, it's kind of a one-note thing. I'm not. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm not like I don't think I've ever like ripped on him on any podcast or stomped my feet over it. But I mean, hasn't been super exciting for me. It feels like this sort of cult-like thing that burned hot and now it's being dragged out. Javier, what do you think?
Since I don't watch NXT, and if they're basically doing the same thing on NXT over and over with them, I can understand that. So I basically have a gap, him in the Indies to like the few appearances he had in WWE, and I still love him, so I haven't gotten tired of him yet. We'll see.
What do you love about this? Isn't attacking you, but what do you love about him? For like, what is it that works?
It's just the comedic timing, the fact that he's funny. He's decent in the ring too. Because the thing is, when in the Indies, his comedic spot was just to get under a person's skin, similar to I put him in the same vein as Orange Cassidy, right?
I was going to say that if you took one more second to come up with the name, I was going to say Orange Cassidy. I think you're talking about.
Yeah. So because he would have the songs and stuff, and all the dragging to get into people's heads. And then all and so I like that, and he's good in the ring too. He had one of Angle's last matches, and they have kind of the same wrestler style. So I do like the style of wrestling that he has. Again, in the Indies, haven't seen much of him now, but how WWE would use him, they could if he falls, if they use him like they use like Akira Tozawa or Truth, and they put him in that kind of,
No, I want you to finish your sentence, and then I'm going to jump.
Yeah, and one of the things that like worries me is the whole say his name and he appears.
Oh god,
that works in TNA because TNA is like a magical place. We're not supposed to take that as a real place, like where you say his name and he comes out of a refrigerator. That works because it's there's magic in TNA, right? There's
a complete lack. Well, NXT has a complete lack of attention to any logic, and it breaks your immersion. And we shouldn't call it a magical place. We should call it really sloppy.
Well, no, I'm talking when they were doing stuff with Rosemary. I'm not talking about like current TNA.
Yeah.
Which I'm talking about the days where you had illegal gambling dens and stuff like that. I know it's not for everybody. My favorite promotion was Lucha Underground. I know that's not going to be for everyone. I do like because they did enough where I'm not looking at the real world, so fantastical elements could exist. So I know it's not for everybody. I know it's a small segment, but we also like this stuff. The people who liked Chikara and stuff like that.
I think you can get all the benefits of what you're describing and do so within the parameters where you can explain it away, and I think that's better for the pro wrestling industry. And I don't think it is when there isn't an adherence to reality. I don't think that it's a creative choice as much as it is sloppiness and a disregard for wrestling history and a lack of knowledge of how to just tweak things a little bit to have it fit within the parameters of something believable. And I gave latitude myself during COVID. I'm like, okay, we can have cinematic stuff, and we got to break some rules just to get through this. But there's there's certain things I don't want to argue this. I don't want to make my case on this. Let me go back to what I was going to say when you paused a second, Javier. As much as I'm saying I am not like a huge fan of Joe Hendry, I'm not anti him. I'm just like, it's not super. I don't know. It's fine, and I'm fine with people liking it, and I get it. But it's not my favorite thing. I would never say that he's like Akira Tozawa. Like that is, or R-Truth, like that's too low for, I want to give you a hard time as a Joe Hendry fan saying, oh, maybe they can utilize him like,
no. I said they might use him like him, in which case that is bad.
Oh, right. I thought you were saying
no.
The way I heard you introduce it, I thought you were saying this is where he should land, and I'd be good with it.
No.
I'll check the tape.
Yeah, okay, no. What I'm saying is that there is there's Orange Cassidy on one end, and you have R-Truth on the other. I'm hoping for Orange Cassidy. Obviously, I'm afraid that it might be it might be the other side. That was what that was referenced to.
Orange Cassidy is a much better worker than Joe Hendry, and that's why Orange Cassidy is working with top guys, because he's a respected guy behind the scenes and really, really respected in the ring for being able to have a good match with anybody. Joe Hendry is more, I call it time capsule wrestling in TNA, just kind of applauding, make every move count, but nothing too fancy. Bump hard, sell your moves, but Joe Hendry isn't. He's not going to be like in the G1, having killer matches. So that's where I think the Orange Cassidy thing is hopeless if you're hoping for that, because Joe Hendry just isn't as good as Orange Cassidy. As you strip away Orange Cassidy's gimmick, he's just a really good hand in the ring, and he's exciting to watch and just has good matches with pretty much everybody. I get the comparison. I'm just saying I don't have hope for Henry to have the respect of the locker room and the bookers enough to get the sustained presentation that Orange has.
Yeah, that understandable. But I liked his matches when I was watching WCPW wrestling. So
yeah, I didn't see those, and I mean I'm not saying he's bad, but I don't know. Do you agree with me? He's not like a top tier worker in WWE, or do you think he should be because that's the style you'd like to see more of? I don't know.
I like the direction that he was going up, including his first deal with TNA. Or Impact at the time. After that, I haven't seen the growth. I haven't the little bit I saw because that's pretty much like my memory of him. After I saw some more of the stuff, I didn't see the same kind of growth that he had, to get him to a higher level. But I did like his style for the very reasons that you said, that it was kind of like that old, that make every move count kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Just like that. I love that backdrop move that that's like utilized move. I love that move. So it's kind of like his move style and stuff like that.
It's a little Brian Adidas in mid '80s world class. Like he was like, okay, but not exciting. That's because, but Adidas had no charisma, and Joe Hendry does. But I mean, ring style wise, just very, very just basic, fundamentally sound. But a lot of the gimmicks doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and I think that's what was my fear, is that when he came back to TNA the second time, that it was the gimmick was, like you said, doing the heavy lifting when he came back the second time. Yeah. But I had stopped watching around that time.
Refocus your camera, Javier. It's driving me nuts. Sorry. Look at that. Now we can see each individual blade of hair in his mustache. All right, Sean, I don't know if we trailed off in 8 directions since you last spoke, but go ahead and chime in, follow up, or ask a different topic.
No, I'll just say I'm with you, Wade, as far as I'm not what I've seen. Look
at that beard. It's so HD now. It's like 4K. This is the best it's ever looked, Javier. All right, sorry. He just turned off his camera.
Oh, that's great. Javier, that is great. That was
right
on time. I'm not a big Joe Hendry fan either, from what I've seen. I just people are so high on it, and I'm like, what I've seen, this is not for me. This is not what I want in my wrestling, but that's fine. To each their own. I'll go back to Cody and Drew for a minute, because I think that is big, and that was a very good end of the show for sure. A good way to end it. I think Drew has been, again, such a good heel, and I love what he did tonight. And Cody was. I was with you, Wade. I thought last week or the week before, whatever that was, I want him to be, full of vigor and have an edge. But I think I went a little overboard last week, talking to Nick. I thought it was too much. But this week, I liked the way his demeanor was. He wanted to get at him, but he knew that he couldn't. And even though the zingers were, hurting really bad, he's like, okay, I got to do the right thing. I'll get you in 3 stages of hell. I'll kick your ass, all that kind of stuff. But with Drew, I mean, again, I'm with a lot of people. I've been a fan of Drew for a long time. You've known this. I would love to see him win the title. And I'm okay if they go that route, because like you guys were talking at the beginning of the show, I think there's ways they can go to make Drew as a champion feel like a bigger deal, to where if Oba or anybody who gets in that way, or a Fatu or someone beats him down the road, it's a big deal. I think they can make it a big deal. And I'm with a lot of people in the chat. I don't want to see a Roman Cody. I don't need to see a number 3. I don't understand why you want to go that route, other than they're 2 big stars and they're just wrestling again and it's a big thing, whatever. We've seen it. We know what it's like. We don't need to see it again. With Cody,
well, just wait. Austin Theory's going to get so hot. He's going to be in one of those main event spots.
I'm with you. Let's go. Theory all the way, baby. Let's get this. But I think Drew, with Cody, I'm still a fan. I think you need to build to somebody beating him at Mania and make it a big deal. It's a huge deal if you beat Cody at Mania. I think that's where they're going. I think whoever wins the Rumble is going for Cody, obviously, and going to beat him. And I think it's going to be fine. And then Cody can go to Randy or somewhere afterwards, have a good big-time feud with him. I think there's ways they can make this work. But I think Cody has to win now, as much as it hurts Drew in the sense of, I was going to say, too, I didn't like the initially where Drew lost twice, or how many ever times he's lost. At least they made it make sense where Drew got at him so bad. Cody said, I want you in the ring. I'm sick of this crap. So I like the way they played that out, because normally I wouldn't want that. But Drew has to lose. It's just good for Cody to move forward as champion. And he's going to lose soon, guys. It's not going to be forever. He's going to lose it. Let's get the right person to beat him. And I just don't know, as much as I love Drew, I don't think he's that guy right now. But if they have Drew win, I mean, I'm not hurt by it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I think there's ways they can go. So, and that's what I like about this match. There's still like intrigue in it. We don't know which way they're actually going. And that's good. WWE is good about doing that. They at least build intrigue. Like, okay, this guy could win. There's reasons they could do it this.
Back to Austin Theory briefly. Why you're genuinely optimistic this will work for him? He'll be a top tier guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Wait, I've been on your camp.
You're more. I mean, first of all, you're more. I've advocated for him to have an opportunity to show he could do more. Mm-hmm. I mean, check the tape. Maybe at some point I said, but I really don't think I did that. Oh, he could be a main event centerpiece act. I just felt he deserved to get more of a chance than he did with Cena when he wasn't prepared to fire back like Cena was when Rock came at him. And when he's been given kind of comedy gimmicks and, he's kind of been the buffoon or dopey. And now I wasn't convinced with his performances so far that he has it in him, but I don't think he disqualified himself by any means too. It's very early. So I want to get your take. What have you liked in the past about him? Or is it just sort of a general sense? This looks like a guy who's shown me enough where I think he can do more? Or do you think, no, he really has shown me he can do more, and here's some examples? And how do you think he's doing so far? And I'm going to have you say the same thing, Javier, or answer the same topic.
So I think I was with the fact that I think the booking has hurt Austin for sure. I think he was doing some really good heel work. When he won Money in the Bank initially, I thought he was doing some really good stuff. And then just the way they had him get knocked around by Lesnar, get knocked around, and then Cena just destroyed him. And it's the booking, and Theory didn't handle it maybe the greatest. I mean, he could have handled it a little bit better but when you're booked against Cena at that point, it was just weird. I mean, Cena just wasn't in a good place. He wasn't there all the time, and it hurt Austin. But I think he's shown enough chops, especially as a heel, that he could be. And I'm saying this preceding that I'm not 100% clear this is going to work. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm saying I believe in him as a performer, that I think he can make this work. And if they tell the right story and build it well, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be good. But I think the booking has hurt Austin more than he's hurt himself. I think he's done some really nice stuff. The Waller stuff was just stupid anyway. I think they both just had a bad material and it just didn't work well. But I think he can make this work. They've put Heyman, I think, believes in him. I think everybody believes in him. And I think he's got the chops to make it work.
Nashville DS says, Theory was a Vince guy and Triple H was not sold on him. Javier, what do you think of, what have you thought of Theory? What stood out that made you historically, I believe, an advocate for him getting a type of opportunity he's getting now?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I will pick up the fan wagon and put it on my shoulders and carry it if I have to. I saw him first in Evolve. They told a great story between him and Darby Allin, triggered by Will and Regal, saying these two are going to be the future.
That feels like a bunch of worlds colliding right now.
It really.
Yes.
So it was just a great storyline that they told based on their. Now that was over a decade.
But hey, in your defense, Javier, people pointed to that one promo. I think it was just one promo Roman did, where he's wearing the really expensive watch, cutting this arrogant heel promo in NXT very early on, and as evidence that he's going to be naturally a better heel than a babyface. And a lot of us who advocated for Reigns to get a chance to have a different presentation pointed to that one, besides the general vibe that he was a D-bag, as a babyface. Like, he didn't connect with the fans. He was kind of aloof. It worked, that demeanor, that's not who Joe is in real life, but that's how he came across as babyface. And the idea was, hey, look, when he leaned into it in NXT, it worked. So I think it's fine to go way back to go, hey, I saw something that he hasn't had a chance to show yet. Or again, since then, I should say.
Yeah, because he hit that elitist snob level. That was kind of the character that he was. So, like, if you'll see it like kind of like a Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter series, the elite snob, turn your nose on people. He did that really well, not cartoony like Regal did when he was in the WWE, but like with just that attitude, right? So he, which was great, counteracted with what Darby Allin was, which was the grungy, I don't give any F's kind of character. So that helped that, and he played really well off of that. So that's where I'm like, okay, this kid does have something. And then in NXT, it was both a blessing and a curse. They put him in the comedy group with the
Way with Gargano and
the Way,
Candice.
And he was great. He showed that he had comedic timing.
Yep.
He had the facials. He had the personality. He understood what he was doing. So now you're hitting a lot of quadrants when it comes to just the acting part of it. And then, unfortunately, he gets called in what I think would be early without establishing, they should have established him as an actual, once he got rid of the Way and made him more of a serious character in the, so when he comes to the main roster, he doesn't have the stink of comedy character. Then Vince McMahon took a liking to him, and they did the whole, we're going to make him, the next big star, which showed that they had, that management then had hopes for him. Unfortunately, with the management was they handled it like they handled Cena and you will like this guy, which fans are going to revolt against.
Well, they're doing that with Braun Breaker a little bit right now, but he's a heel at least.
Yeah. And it feels. We'll talk about that later because that'll derail my thoughts on Theory. But then and then just at that point, you kind of have to, even if Triple H didn't like him, and that's why he was put in the tag team with Waller and he died off. Whether he liked him or not, you needed to get him out of that level. With him getting, and it looked like they were already going to do something with him because they were already teasing the breakup, like officially between Austin
Waller,
Theory and Waller was going to happen, right around the injury time. And then you told this injury thing. The gut reaction I get to what they're doing with Theory right now is I think they're kind of almost copying what they did with what's his name? Oh man, I'm blanking his name. I feel bad because
Orange Cassidy.
No, not Orange Cassidy.
I know.
He's been hanging around with he's New Japan, hanging around with Moxley's group. Gabe Kidd, thank you.
Yeah.
Gabe Kidd.
That's what I thought. That's what for a split second. That's what I thought it was when Theory unmasked. It looked like he was. I thought, is that Gabe Kidd? And then I was like, oh no, that's Theory.
Yeah, the way they did that there was kind of like that reminded me of what Gabe Kidd or Perry, because Perry also did the thing where he got exiled. That's kind of what it felt like. And so
Perry,
far,
who? Oh, Jack Perry.
Jack
Gotcha.
Perry. Yeah, Jack Perry.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I hadn't thought about that, but Todd and I talked about on the fix today. We talked about compare Jack Perry to Austin Theory. Or Todd did. Yeah.
I'm hoping for something along those lines. And so far, the little bit I've seen, the little bit they've done, he's serious. He's not joking around. He's not messing around in the matches. And they even mentioned that, so they want you to know it, that he's not playing to the crowd and trying to get the crowd, upset the crowd like he used to. He was mission focused, just take out his enemy. He's got a focus behind him. With Heyman having, being, involved with Heyman, it's only be good. I'm hoping for good things. I think that he has talent. Now in the ring, he hasn't blown me away. He hasn't had any 4 or 5 star matches. He hasn't
had a epic main event. 18 to 24 minute. Okay, he delivered on this. But has he been given opportunities to let you down?
Yeah, and because he was wrestling Darby Allin, it's all about Darby Allin taking massive bumps, right? Yeah. So it's not like he's going to show you what he can do. Best case scenario, I'm thinking Nigel McGuinness kind of character in the way he carries himself in the ring. So I'd like to see what he can do in the ring, but outside of that, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, interesting. Do you kind of my phrasing for what I saw on Monday was silent assassin. He's going to be soft spoken. He's going to be, like you said, mission focused, mission oriented. Is that working for you? Because if the only way for Theory to not come across as a comedic, dopey character is to strip away any personality and just talk quietly with an intense look, but he has soft features, as Nick Barbatti talked about on Monday, it might not click. And then what do you do? I mean, if he can't portray a rugged, serious persona, and they are asking him to be a bit of a cross between Jack Perry, heel Jack Perry after Punk, and Gabe Kidd, and a little bit of the presentation with kind of that tough edge. It's a chance, because it might not be a lane he is believable in. But I didn't see anything to disqualify him Monday, but I also didn't see anything where I'm like, wow, this is a revelation. They really nailed this. I just need a bigger body of work. So I don't know. Where are you, Javier, on what you saw?
You got to clean off all the dirt from the previous stuff. And I think that by making him as simple of a character at first, and then start adding more and more personality to the character, I think is the best way. But start with a blank slate now. Don't drag it off for 6 months, obviously.
Right.
You want to be seeing something by the end of his first feud is going to be. Yep. So that's how I would, rehabilitate the character basically. And he also has enough of a change in his look where also it helps. But so that's the, granted, we don't know if he's meant to be on that level or if they're going to basically have him be, what's his face? Like a
Orange Cassidy.
Vinci or what was the other one?
Vinci or Kaiser.
Ludwig Kaiser. Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever happened to him?
Gee.
Yeah, so it's like a Ludwig Kaiser kind of, like the guy who takes the falls for Gunther.
Yeah.
If they use him for that way, I mean, it doesn't kill his career because he could do stuff after that, but it kills his top, main eventing WrestleMania.
And to me, this does feel like more than that. I mean, I think if they go there, that's a sign that they're disappointed and I think they have a desired course of action and alternate directions to go if it doesn't click. I mean, that's kind of my thinking is where their mindset is. We'd like him to go here. We're going to steer him here. But if we see early signs, it's not connecting, it's not working, he's in over his head, he's not believable, we were wrong that he could pull this off, then I think they steer him more to the Ludwig Kaiser example. But this build, this presentation, the unmasking, interacting, standing up to Bronson Reed, going, I'm going to start the match. I'm not going to be subservient to you. That's not, he's not Wheeler Yuta in the making. This is not Wheeler Yuta in the Death Riders,
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, Wheeler's awesome. But they're aspiring. Not a dig at Wheeler. They're aspiring for more for us in theory than to have him be a henchman who turns out to be a hanger-on who does jobs. That does not feel to me what the early framing and projection or trajectory, I guess, a better way, is for him now. Doesn't mean he won't land there, but that'll be, I think, a sign that they settled for Plan B with him.
Yeah, and I hope, and like I said, I think I told you Monday. I think eventually, when Seth comes back, because Seth's going to be a babyface when it comes back. He kind of has to be. I mean, I don't think you're going to have him back as a heel because the fans, again, they want to cheer Seth. They do love Seth, even though he has things that drive you a little crazy, and you're like, okay, I don't know if I'd be saying this or whatever. But they're going to, and to have theories he'll beat Rollins, and if they tell that story and they, build him up like that, I think there's, there's potential there, and I like where they're going with it. I just need to, like you said, small sample size, but I think they can build this story over time, and I think it'll be good with Heyman just kind of in the middle of it. I think it's going to help a lot.
I'm aiming to write a Wade Keller news bulletin. It's been tough in the holidays with some stuff going on, to be in rhythm with it. But I want to write about what Heyman said to Stephanie McMahon on her podcast about what he does behind the scenes when he starts working with someone to bring out the best in them on air. And there's some really interesting things that examples he gave, and I want to do a top story on that, just kind of going, okay, the Austin Theory experiment is in motion. Paul Heyman does not want this to be added to a list of people who didn't work out as a Paul Heyman guy. He's going to, and I mean, I don't think this would be happening if Heyman wasn't endorsing it. And I don't think he's being dragged into doing it for Paul Levesque's case, because I do think there's evidence Paul Levesque wasn't super high in him. So I think the idea is we don't have a lot of guys in their late 20s who have enough boxes checked, who are turnkey, ready to be given an opportunity, which then means they have to prove themselves. There's just not people who are super turnkey ready. I mean, Trick Williams, Obafemi, but otherwise you're looking at Joe Hendry or somebody lower end, or Carmelo's a fun story. We'll get into that in a bit, but that's different. So yeah. I guess I was going to, do I want to round that out, or let me shift to something very related, which is I am leaning towards, and I said this Monday, I think that Theory, maybe I said Tuesday on the flagship, but with Greg or both, I think Theory is going to be a babyface. I mean, I think we should watch carefully. I don't think he's going to do anything heinous, and I don't think they're going to put him in a position to show his cards that he's not a heel who aspires to be with them. I think he's been sent by Seth to infiltrate Heyman's group, the Vision. Now, it's possible he genuinely wants to be part of the group, and then he'll end up being disillusioned with them. But because of the stomp, because of the idea that he was kind of looking like, oh, could that be Seth? And the announcer said, that can't be Seth. He's walking around. He can barely walk around. He's got a brace on. I think they wanted us to think about him as Seth. There's a little bit of history that they haven't underlined with Seth and Austin Theory, or that they haven't brought back into reminding viewers of it in any kind of official way. That might be a little too obvious. But I think that's my slight leaning towards where this is going. Jason D from Australia in the chat said, it's a start for Theory. Eventually his landing place is a babyface. This is part of the journey. Nashville Diaz, yes, said he will end up a babyface whenever Seth comes back, and they'll team to fight the Vision. So Javier, your thoughts on that angle on this?
Yeah, because I was thinking, because the rumor had been that he was going to eventually join that he was going to be the fourth person to join the Vision before Seth got injured.
Right.
And I think that a lot of the work that you've seen Logan Paul doing is probably was originally probably scripted for the Theory character. Because I think a lot of stuff that he's doing now kind of feels like, like he's Logan Paul's understudy almost, because Logan Paul's not on the show, if this were theater.
Yeah.
Which honestly is the one negative, because I was thinking Logan Paul when he was in there. So that was the one negative about the whole thing for me. But if that's kind of like what they were scripted for, I could see them then turn, because they have that history. They had teamed up previously, so they have history together, him and Seth, and it would make sense that because I would think that if you had that group, you'd probably either have Braun or Theory be the one that eventually kicks Seth out, and then maybe one or the other has to choose to go with Seth, had Seth not got injured, because that's kind of like the story you probably tell with that kind of group. But maybe they're just, it makes perfect sense for him being the one infiltrating, hitting the, not only hitting the stomp, but also kind of dressing in military-esque fatigues too. So
well, Sean, I'll let you chime in on this. What do you think? Because we don't know what the original plan was because Seth's injury. So everything, as Javier kind of went over there, everything has to be done through the lens of, it does feel like there's a little bit of a plan B here, or an augmentation of the original, and we have to look. So there might be some variables that aren't perfect fits, but they're the piecing together, the Frankenstein monster angle, where they got to piece together a few things here. Wow, is that right? Is that the right reference? Where they have to kind of piece something together in order to get to the end point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I think ultimately down the line he turns babyface, but I think it's a ways away. I wouldn't do it right away. I would take my time with it. I would have it to where he was, even though Seth might have brought him in, he still thinks eventually he was the one that kind of infiltrated it, kind of the head of it, and then turns on, he kind of turns on Seth as well. Because I think Seth's going to be a face when he comes back. I don't want Austin to turn right away with him. I want him to go again and get a win against Seth and build up that kind of that heel persona for a little while. And then eventually you kind of tell a story of him turning. I wouldn't want to do it right away or too fast. I mean, I want that needs to be a longer journey, not just a quick journey where it happens in a matter of a couple months. I want it to be longer down the line. So that's where I would go, but that's just
yeah. And when I say I lean slightly, I think that's the timeline is open, but I don't know. I think there's different directions it can go. I like Seth landing as a baby face, but I think if he works out as a believable heel, there are a lot of opponents for him to work with if he's a top guy or just kind of right under that. I think there's a number of people who could use fresh opponents. And Seth versus Theory, by the way, might instead of Seth and Theory together, Seth versus Theory can be an entry point for sure. Yep.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I think they should go. I think they should go that way. But going off that, I'm with you. I want to talk about Carmelo and Ilya. Fantastic. I mean, the match was fantastic. I mean, that was one of the better WWE matches I've seen in a long. I mean, Ilya's had good matches, but this one I just love his style. I love his physicality. I just love the story that he tells in the ring. I know he gets a little over with the facial expressions. I get some of that, but I'm into that. It doesn't bother me as a fan. I mean, Carmelo, they needed to go this route. This was the right way to go. I think Carmelo, if you're going to tell something with Carmelo to kind of make him feel more, I mean, not main event, quote unquote, but at least more of a big player, a bigger player. This was the way to do it, to put him over in this way. Ilya, the way they handled it backstage beforehand, just two guys like, hey, we're going to fight it out. Whoever wins, wins. I just loved everything about it. This is the way WWE works, and I love it. I love the storytelling with two faces, just wanting to, Carmelo wants to prove he's him, but it does it in a fun way, a good just storytelling way. I just loved everything about it. It was just fantastic. So good.
So, I think that there was a lot of consternation and angst over how Carmelo Hayes was being portrayed out of the gate. And I mean, I'm on record saying I think this is a story. It's a sports-like story that can work out well for him. I don't have intel on whether they were committed to this being a point where he proved himself enough where they're willing to go this route, but I think they had it in mind as an obvious possible path. This is a guy who came in with a big head, and he was a high draft pick, and it didn't work. That is a sports story for people who watch sports, and there's a lot you can tell with that story. So to me, it does feel like we're just on a trajectory that I think in the early stages, because they talk so much about him being a top pick who is not panning out, and it didn't feel like a burial. It felt like the foundation for a redemption story. And so this is a culmination. This is the culmination of sort of Act 1 of whatever Carmelo's run in WWE is going to be, and this moves him into Act 2, where he has a title, he has a big win. The announcers certainly, I mean, drove home. They basically said if he loses tonight, like he should be sent to, he's done. Like back to the Indies. I mean, it was just like, wow, this is a high pressure situation. So that either meant he was going to win, which is sort of what it gave it away to me a little bit. But I was talking myself into, no, wait a second, it could mean that he's going to snap and do, he could turn heel or use a tactic that to win. And that's, the announcers were really laying it on thick. There's pressure to win. And that's why he cracked under pressure and did something that, of course, Dragunov, and it was set up because Dragunov was gifting him a match because he won unfairly last time. So now, Dragunov, such a stand-up, morally sound guy, want to win the right way. If he lost the wrong way, that would spark a rematch. So I thought, okay, maybe that's what's happening. And the third option was, he was going to lose clean, and then that was going to be like the next stage of him having to regroup. But making him a heel again this fast didn't make sense. So I kind of discarded that. Go ahead, Sean. I see your.
I just want to say that's the only thing they did wrong in this is they didn't really tell a story of Carmelo turning. He just kind of Miz just turned on him, and that was it. I mean, there was really no story of like him turning and becoming a good guy. It was just like, oh, Miz turned on him, he's a good guy. It was just weird. I didn't like that part, but everything else since has been good.
Darrell adds to it. I see Melo as a transitional champion because the bigger story they've been telling in the background is that Tom is going to win the title and bring it to the MFTs. So there is that didn't get played out yet. So either that stays with it's a Dragunov story without a title, but it seemed like it was more based on the title than Dragunov. So yeah, Carmelo could find himself facing Tama. Javier, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, and with the numbers issues, you probably will end up with Dragunov teaming up with Melo against the MFTs.
Yeah, why? Or MFTs? Oh, okay.
Yeah, eventually, because like Tom has definitely made his presence known every single time. I'm actually surprised that Carmelo won, just because I thought that the next big opponent for Dragunov was going to be Tama. But I like as long as they have something big planned for Carmelo on the other side. I really I like it. I'd like to see him go and try to do the same keep the open challenge thing alive and give us some matches against a whole plethora of opponents. It looks like Gargano's like going to be one of the first ones. And opponents that are great wrestlers like Gargano and that could give him great matches too. So
I love the U.S. title being on someone who can continue to have really good matches. I hope Dragunov still gets featured a lot, but we do have a champion now who, if they want to extend, tune in to see the U.S. title open challenge with a really good match. That's a good hook for SmackDown, especially going to 3 hours next week.
Yeah, so have that be your 30-minute match, or however. I'm exaggerating 30 minutes, but they're the longer matches anyway. But yeah, and he had some great matches with Andrade.
In the series.
Yeah. So
that's the thing. It's
So I'm just hoping that because like you said, it was a great story in terms of the big head wrestler, and just he was butting heads with Cody, like when Cody was at the top. So it was like, what does this, and Cody beat him. So it just works. It was a good story, and a wrestler like Carmelo, I think, needs it because he's not like a physical presence. Like like I mentioned, Trick. The first thing was like, holy crap, this guy looks like he could kill me. Carmelo, doesn't have that kind of physical presence either. He does have good charisma. The stuff I've seen, he's not like crazy agile in terms of like the flippy dudes. He's good, but not on that Osprey level. But so he needs to bring it with his personality, and I think you had to have time for it to be presented. He didn't completely get just turned on Miz out of the blue. They were already having issues over who gets the victory, and there was already it already seemed like there was a split about to happen with Carmelo leaving, and Miz just took him out ahead of time. I don't think they did enough to babyface him before he left, but it was like kind of on the road to it for I think it was just handled poorly, not like it was completely ignored. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy for the dude, and see and gives him an opportunity to grow and move further up further up the card.
Yeah. A couple comments in the chat here. Jason D in Australia goes, I really like Carmelo when the odds are against him. I thought when he faced Bronson Reed, they had the vision ringside. It positioned him as resilient and sympathetic. And he goes, Jason D adds, they have had a plan for Hayes for a while. Yes, I do. Now, let's see. Here's Derek Mitchell's comment. The problem, in my opinion, Wade, is they're painting a black guy with the big head narrative, and it plays into a trope about black athletes. And like I said, he was on the main roster for 1 year. I mean, undeniably, they're playing into a sports trope. And there's a lot of black athletes who make it to the professional level and are very successful. And there's a wide range of there's Justin Jeffersons of the world who are universally praised and loved, and Dante Culpeppers, and then there's Randy Mosses, who are super talented, and Chris Carters, but are known as diva wide receivers. And then there's people who are high draft picks. And I think the narrative on the Chicago quarterback going into the Bears, they're having a great year, but the narrative coming into the season was he taking his offseason seriously? There's all kinds of storylines in sports. I am not going to defend Paul Levesque, Vince McMahon, or WWE with their history of how they portray black athletes on their roster. And hopefully we're seeing a boom period of call-ups that will the word is escaping me, validate Paul Levesque saying, in so many words, but come on, I just got the book. We got people in the pipeline. Just judge me in a couple years, because we're going to do this at the right pace. We don't want to rush anyone before there's a spot for them. And I think that's kind of the message he's been trying to send without tipping his hand too much about this. So let's see. And plus, I got to live through like Christian Laettner on the Timberwolves, just a total, number 3 overall pick after Shaq and Alonzo Mourning, who was a huge drop off, and a locker room diva. I've seen plenty who were not black athletes, and so it can be based on non-black athletes who have done that.
Ryan Leaf.
Yes. Oh, well, he was just. I don't remember. Was he a big head? He was a bust?
Okay. Big head too.
Yeah. Too. So, but again, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to sit here and deny Derek Mitchell his
but
that he doesn't have a lot to stand on when he says that. But it isn't a story WWE tells a lot. They tell a lot of different stories. And Obafemi's going to be a different story. Trick Williams a different story. Jade Cargill was brought in with a different story. Whatever, we can go on. There's a list. I think there's enough diversity in how they're being presented. Hopefully that's a sign that they're not looking at every black call-up through the same lens. So I'd say that. And Kavanti Small says Flash Legend had another good night. So that is good too. You want to add anything to that, Javier, by the way?
No.
Okay. And so then, as far as Ilya Dragunov goes, let's not forget about him, because man, did he have when you talk about life moves so fast now, and I don't know if it's because I've been doing this a long time and other people feel differently, or if the pace of entertainment and wrestling is such, but we'd get to this time of the year like 30 years ago and be like, oh, let's just take a few weeks and reflect and do awards and best match debates. I know people do that, but like, it doesn't feel like it slows down enough to really do that. But if we did, if there was not so much content right now that's new that we're keeping up on, we'd have more. We'd make more time to reflect and wedge it in. And one of the stories would be this U.S. Title Open Challenge and what impact it had on giving SmackDown with Dragunov, especially giving SmackDown an identity and the type of year Dragunov had. And he'd be, Rising Star of the Year candidate.
Yep.
Certainly in WWE. I know AEW is bragging on Wednesday night about Sports Illustrated, giving them a virtual clean sweep of the awards, but Dragunov shouldn't be lost. So Derek Hubbard brings up Ilya and goes, the loss did not hurt Ilya. The win helped continue the momentum behind Carmelo Hayes. It also allowed Carmelo to show a new level of toughness. Dragunov, have you ever seen a better loser? I mean, a more sportsman-like. I mean, and I like they tease a little, like he yanked the belt from the ref. It's like, oh, he's going to turn and hit him. It's like, no, he's not. Not Dragunov. That would be so tone deaf of booking to have him snap. He's just too genuine and believable. It's like Speedball can't be a vicious heel, Speedball Mike Bailey. Like they're just these wholesome, law-abiding citizens. So I didn't expect that to happen here, and it didn't. So what did you think of Javier, the how Dragunov was portrayed here as offering a title match? It cost him the belt, and he was gracious in defeat.
My thoughts, please tell me you're moving him to with the whole free agent stuff. Please tell me you're moving him over to Raw.
I was thinking about that too.
I want to see him just because number one, Gunther's there.
Oh,
right. So my dream is Gunther wins the title and then Ilya goes after him. That's my personal drama. At this point, forget the vision.
It's anybody's.
With honestly Tyler Bate being the only one I'd rather had seen, but unfortunately that he's disappeared too. I wonder where he went. But yeah, I mean the Dragunov matches have been like pretty much the only matches I've pretty much been fast forwarding to, because most of the time they had good finishes and it was it was the best in-ring action that I think across both brands for the most part. So I think he's probably going to stick around a little bit more for what's going on with the MFTs, because obviously if that's the direction they're going to, there's going to have to be an alliance, because it's always going to be a numbers game kind of thing.
Derek Mitchell says Dragunov's own ego and being so virtuous cost him the U.S. Championship tonight. Come on. Someone who's virtuous doesn't have an ego. I don't, not in a negative sense. I mean, you need ego to put yourself on TV and strive for things, I guess, to some extent. But ego has a negative connotation. There's nothing heelish about Dragunov. He wanted to do the right thing, and I think at the core, am I wrong, Sean? At the core, Ilya Dragunov is like, if somebody beats me, they deserve the title, and I'm okay with that. I just want to, if I'm the best, I want to give my best effort and show I'm the best. But if someone's better than me, I will raise their arm, and I think it's great to have you don't want a whole company full of that. It'd be little too, one note, but give me one or two, every era.
No, that's Dragunov. And that's what I said. I was glad Derek brought that up, because I was going to say that initially. I mean, as much as I didn't want to see him lose, because I do like Dragunov a lot. Like, this doesn't hurt him, because he's going to build toward, and that's what I want. Well, here's my last question, and then I'll leave you guys with this. So the move to 3 hours, we knew it was coming. To me, here's my main thoughts on it. So there's positive and negative. There's both. So the positive is there's a lot of new talent coming in that you can headline and talk about and tell stories about and all that good stuff. There's a lot of talent that's coming through NXT and coming up to the main roster. And I think you can do a lot of good stuff there. But again, I have a life. I love wrestling. I love it. I'm talking about it with you guys all the time. I love it. I enjoy it. I can only handle so much wrestling in a day, in a week. I mean, there's Dynamite and Collision and all this. It's so much. It's like you're just watering down what you could have. SmackDown has been, especially lately, even though these were taped, but there were better 2-hour shows where you can pack a lot of good stuff into 2 hours, and you could tell just the same stories that you can in a 3-hour show. And they just want to give you more content and make you stay there longer and make you pay more money. And that's just what they've been doing. And that's the negative for me, is I don't need to see an extra hour of SmackDown when you can tell good stories and build people up in 2 hours just as much as you can 3. So that's why I want to hear you guys' thoughts on the 3 hour and what that can mean and all the good stuff going into starting that next week.
Yeah, so there's positive and negatives, and the negatives are there's a lot of wrestling, and it's a long time to sit and watch a weekly wrestling show. The good news is you're going to get an extra few minutes added on to really good matches. You're going to get a few extra minutes added on to wrestlers who need to step up and fill it competently, and they'll have the time to do it. So developmentally, it's an opportunity. Some people will get promo time who would not have otherwise gotten promo time. I'll get more of my video packages. I say that facetiously, but I mean but honestly, they're probably cutting some video packages that would be helpful in recapping things or underlining and emphasizing certain points and kind of refining a story into a vignette that'll really drive home the key points. And there's going to be room for more depth. That maybe the tag division will consist of more than one segment where they're all on screen at the same time yelling at each other. So some good will come out of it. It isn't necessarily permanent. I mean, I know there's some thought, and I don't have it verified, but that this will be kind of a Rumble season, WrestleMania season type thing, and by summer they'll go back to 2 hours again, and they might, who knows, with if the pattern continues. But when they do have more crossover, more WrestleMania peak season, they feel like they want to fill that. They can justify filling an extra hour, and then USA Network will take advantage of that extra hour at the end if it goes back to 2 to try to promote a new series that they don't have ready yet. So it's possible it's not permanent. It's going to be kind of ebb and flow. But yeah, I mean, the downside is you're watering down the product. You're giving people a lot, and it could hurt in other ways. But the thing is they're selling a live experience, which is very different than a TV experience. So those are separate. The people who want to go to a live show, I don't think are deciding not to go to a live show because they're burned out on wrestling, as much as it's a communal experience. You want to see it in person. You can listen to your artist on loop on Spotify or Apple Music constantly. Doesn't mean you're not going to go to their concert because you can listen to them constantly. You want to be part of that experience with other people experiencing that, for lack of a better term, the in-person experience. You want to feel it and be with your people, having that communal experience. So I don't think an extra hour of SmackDown ruins that. So I don't think that's a huge downside either. And they're not trying to sell pay-per-views anymore. They have the guaranteed money from ESPN and Netflix. So there's less of a downside than in the past to have too much wrestling on the air. I'd still vote against it, despite all those positives. I try to wedge in the best and make it a tighter show. I think in the long run, you can water down the product in a way that's negative. No doubt about it. I just think there's fewer negatives than there used to be. And I think booking-wise, although I'd have been more confident saying this a year ago, I think with what they're doing right now in the roster they have, they can fill the time, and they might be able to get that next wave of talent who will be main eventers a little extra time to establish themselves. So maybe I'm just coping. It's my coping mechanism to put a positive on this. It's an extra hour work on a Friday night. I mean, it's a late night doing my job, but it's not about me, so I try not to interject that. But it's one less chance I have when I wind down at the end of the day to just watch something non-wrestling wise and take my mind off it before it gets too late. So yeah, exactly. And I mean, I like a mix of things, and having wrestling constantly on is not good I don't think it's good for my analysis to not have a break from it and watch other genres and unwind. So there's my take. Javier, yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the point where I've actually pretty much stopped watching AEW because I just do not have the time. And a lot of, and there's some cases that I actually have had to watch the Raws and Smackdowns, just fast forward to the end of the matches because I just didn't have time to sit down and watch the matches. So it's just it is what it is. It just means I got to fast forward.
Maybe they're doing it to sabotage TNA. They won't admit it, but
it is. It's going to be rough. I also have heard that it's going to be just for a short period.
Yeah.
That would be great. That'd be great.
And that's why they don't want to celebrate it too. They want to let you know, but they don't want to say it's great because they don't want to draw attention when it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. That's and honestly, if this means that, and hopefully that they decide to make SmackDown the wrestling brand, because we've been with the U.S. title and stuff like that, and just give us 2 longer matches to make up for it that actually have real endings and real stakes, as opposed to having a screwy finish at the end. I'd be cool because I mean Triple H every now and then does do that to give us longer 20 plus minute matches, and it kind of comes in cycles, and maybe that means that we get some good wrestlings that actually have finishes for a bit.
Yep. All right, Sean, cool. Go. Yeah. Final comments from you.
Yes, I wanted to say I'm gonna miss Brandon doing the post shows. I know Saturday's his last one, so that's gonna be kind of weird. I mean, he might get on every once in a while, obviously. But
he'll still be around.
So I'm going to try to get on with him. Obviously tomorrow, talking about AEW. It's a lot, but I still watch both. I enjoy both. There's things I dislike about both, and that's what's fun to talk about. But go VIP only for if you're gonna do anything, like I said, go all VIP. But if you're gonna do one, you got to do the fix. Like I said, Todd sometimes drives me crazy. He goes on his Austin Theory. I don't like Austin Theory rants, and it's like, oh,
wait
my
to
God,
hear this
pretty
week's
fun.
episode.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait! I'm ready for it already. I'm gonna, after this is over, I'm gonna go listen to that, and it's gonna be fun, and I'm gonna enjoy it, even if I want to rip my hair talking to him.
This is a tiny bit of a spoiler, but later in the show, after the initial long period of Todd, grilling me on any redeeming quality Austin Theory has that would make it worth this investment in him. Later on, I said, "What if Theory succeeds? Like, are you gonna be okay? Like, you're gonna be okay? Like, if this works out?" He's like, "Oh, given the stand I've taken, you can listen to his own wording, but it's like he's gonna be irritated and irked and embarrassed and frustrated and humiliated, and it's like, what if Carmelo lost? He'd have to go away. Like, Todd will have to go back somewhere else. He might disappear if Theory turns into an actual breakout star. The thing is it won't be an I told you so for me, because I'm not convinced he will be. I just think I look at him, and I in people's opinions, I trust and admire, including Javier. Not you, Sean, but Javier. They like him too. No, you too, Sean. But especially Javier. But you too, Sean. No, I'm sorry. I should do this. There is enough. There is enough there. I'm just having fun. There is enough there to go, let's look for a way to see it. Now, this is high stakes. This is not ease him into a top. But like I said, I think they have different paths he can take depending on how he does. But he's, it's a phrase they use, like, now you got to earn it every week. Like, you got to earn the faith and opportunity. You have to earn the faith that people who have vouched for you and or taken a chance on you. You have to earn it every week. This is like your junior year of high school and you want to get into a great college. Like, this is not senior last semester, coast to the end. He has to show up every week and be ready to show what his best work is. Because he has not made it, and this is going to make the difference between him being super rich. Well, what is super rich these days? But yeah, WWE makes people what I consider super rich, or just have a solid career. And I think that's pretty much the range he's looking at right now.
Yep, I want to see how it plays out. It's going to be fun to see it go. Appreciate you guys. Always fun talking to both of you.
Thanks, Sean. Awesome. Enjoy your week.
See you guys.
Javier, we have more to choose from in terms of what we haven't covered yet. We're it's running a little bit long here compared to what I expected. Anything else you want to bring up before I throw to you on a couple other things?
No, you can go ahead and throw. I got my favorite comment of the night though was the Grave saying, "They're ornaments, you pervert." That was at the beginning of the match.
There was a very big focus on once again on Mrs. Balls. We've had Aldis's British Balls.
Mm-hmm.
I know Paul Levesque's still in charge, but I didn't know he'd carry this over. Yeah. So, just quick thoughts on Aleister Black, Damian Priest, the vignette with Black. Sometimes I think they should just drop in just to test us a vignette that he did, like in AEW, or a vignette he did, 6 weeks ago or a few years. It all just sort of. I rewatch them sometimes during the commercial break, and I'm like, okay, what did he say here? And it's like, man doesn't descend into violence; he returns to it. Okay. You got that written down?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, like, there was a closing line that I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm mumbling. What did you think of the vignette?
This one actually made sense, and in the kind of topsy-turvy kind of way that he speaks. He laid it out that that basically a Priest has been spending a lot of his time, wasting time when he used to be a focused killer, and he's basically trying to make that part of him come out, and if it doesn't come out, then he's useless in this business. That's pretty much the long and short, so it's similar to the stuff that I keep saying that it's almost like this. They just fired Cross and Scarlett and just plugged in Aleister Black. They're still doing the same stories.
Yeah,
because it's essentially the same thing. It's like we're trying to bring out the real person that you are.
in defense of Black, Cross stole Black's gimmick, and Alistair just took it back.
So I mean, it is like, you know, almost plug and play, and yeah, this makes a little bit more sense now. So
the other line was by Zelina Vega going, "It gets ended," and I can't remember what that was in reference to, the violence or something, but I don't know. Sometimes it just gets a little too clever. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Just how do you think the Charlotte Alexa thing is going?
I mean, it's fine. I don't like cringe whenever I see Charlotte on screen anymore. Yeah. And you know, they've got a nice little like friendly back and forth. Their relationship, I think, is one of the things that would help getting a little bit extra time, because sometimes they feel like they're just in for like a 5-second, you know, thing before other people get brought in. So I'd like to have like more conversations. Like, you know, I get the fact they're friends, but I kind of like to see more, a little bit longer like conversations between the two of them than just what we've been getting. Outside of that, I think, I really wish they wouldn't do the, particularly with how strong the women's tag team division is, to do the, you know, everybody yelling at each other moment, because it is degrading. And like, normally I don't care because I don't care about the people involved, and they're just not really that important. But now you do have a lot of important. You have Sky, you have Rhea Ripley, you have Charlotte Flair, Bliss, Nia Jax. It's these are like, you know, women I'd love to see just on one-on-one matches, and you've got them all yelling like hens, like, you know, like they tend to do when you have to throw everybody together, and they do deserve more. I hate saying deserve because you earn, but like in this case, I do think that, you know, they have earned their extra time, which is one of the reasons I like about the extra.
I'm tempted to get into the semantics of the difference between deserve and earn. I mean, I think if you deserve something, that's by definition you earned it.
Yeah,
if you deserve it. So, but WWE's way of trying to differently that, the chip on the shoulder of wrestlers.
I regretted using those lines.
Did you? As you said
the moment it came out, I'm like, that's probably it. But I was, one of the things sort of talking about them, the fact that they had Lash Legend just basically bully Charlotte around the ring, and Charlotte only won with a distraction roll up, you know, oopsie finish, kind of tells me that they got, you know, big plans for Lash Legend. So
yeah. Let's see. Something else from the show I was just gonna bring up, and I got wrapped up with what you were saying. Lost it. Are you enjoying Solo Sikoa's weekly vignette talking about his family? It's kind of, you know, they're I like that WWE says, okay, I don't think you should stick just to it. Like, I want to know that Aleister Black exists outside of whatever realm he cuts his promos in. It was like the idea with Miro Rusev in all of his vignettes. It's like, does he even have wrestlers met him yet, or is he just sending tapes every week? Like that kind of thing. You want them to seem like they're part of the environment. But I like that, you know, they're saying, hey, Solo's best sitting at a table with his men behind him, cutting a promo in that style, in that character. Is this working for you? Is it repetitive? Your thoughts?
Okay. The idea I love. I like the look. I like how it's shot. I like how it makes him look like, you know, a Don kind of character. Yeah. I love all that. It's just that he's involved with this thing with the Wyatts, and there's not much that the Wyatts have been built for. So I had to double check to see whether the promo that he cut this week was not the same promo they cut last week, because I think it's almost like they were almost identical. But it's not their fault. It's the fact of the feud that they're locked into. So, you know, I mean, it almost felt like, because the last one they did kind of felt like it went hard, right? And it feels like he just repeated the stuff, but with softer language, because maybe they were upset that it went too hard previously, because, you know, they hit more, you know, it hit more on the, you know, your brother's dead and you're not your brother kind of like vibe to it. Last time I remember, it actually might not have been it might have been them just being walking the aisles, but in any case, like, it felt like they just repeated stuff they've already said. And I'm like, I'm ready for this feud to be over with. I'm ready for them to choose to do something with the Wyatt Six, if they're going to be doing anything with the Wyatt Six, you know, at all. It's just, you know, frustrating. You know, I love I did love him stealing the, you know, I have the whole world and whistling. That was just pure prick move. But yeah, I'm just, it's just that I'm really not, it's like might be the feud I'm least interested in, other than Chelsea Green. Julia might be down there too, but it might be the one that I'm least interested in. And I'm kind of wish that they would do something. That's it. Do something.
Yes. Is there a women's match that'll headline one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania this year?
Honestly, it does not feel like they've done much for, because I mean your champions,
Jade, Charlotte.
You know, I mean,
do they stretch it out?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably your best bet, I think, unless they somehow get. I mean, but you're gonna have to move so many pieces, because like I think an EO versus Ripley, because that's the one where she hasn't been able to win. Yeah. So like if you could somehow manage to get an EO versus Ripley match, I think you could get that as one of the top events.
Bianca Belair gets cleared. She comes back. There's a big angle storyline she could be in. Tiffany, they don't want to look like they gave up on her. Well, anyway, there's Becky, who could always rise to the top.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is that when you have Roman's going to have Roman's going to be one of the main events. Yeah. I don't see why they wouldn't be doing that. Yeah. And then you got CM Punk, and you got Lesnar, Gunther. So I mean, I think it's a possibility, but like I wouldn't put money on it.
Gunther's on a Legend Killer track. He'll be beating up AJ Styles or Randy Orton or who's the other person they've been talking about.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Gunther's match for WrestleMania would be Lesnar, and retire Lesnar at WrestleMania. That would be probably the top thing for that. Yeah. So, we'll turn that corner next month. Get more into WrestleMania speculation in more in depth. But yeah, there's some things there. The chat had some things to say about Austin Theory we didn't get to. I will. I want to throw these in. Darrell Freeman says, Austin Theory is like a quarterback who's been in the league for 6 years and was a former top pick who hasn't panned out. He should be on a short leash. He got a short time to show it. You have a short time to show it, or we go with someone else. Fair. Let's see. Derek Mitchell says, I think we have to let it develop over time. Like I said, Drew is Vince's chosen one, much like Theory. He'll need time to develop a new character. Then Derek Hubbard goes, in Evolve, Theory showed what he is athletically capable of, which is more impressive than most realize. And you're touting that too, Javier. And Jason D from Australia, agree, Derek, but I also think Theory has been holding back offensively. So we'll see if that, if he unleashes a little bit more, doing comedy stuff or whatever. Derek Hubbard says Theory can bring out the best of aging wrestlers and larger, more limited wrestlers. So anyway, just a few other comments on Theory that I had marked to throw on the screen. Derek Mitchell has a super chat here. Charlotte should be the comeback wrestler of the year. The Tiffany Stratton angle was rocky, but teaming with Alexa has reinvigorated her. Thanks for the super chat again, Mitchell. Derek Mitchell. I mean, you can make a case for Charlotte being on that list. I don't think she got my first place vote because she is in a kind of a tag team feud that doesn't feel top tier. And when you watch her, you could also imagine, okay, it's been good. I don't cringe when I watch her, but she doesn't feel like as big of a star anymore. And I think that is a risk they took. But I think they can reposition her to where she feels like a big top star, but she'll be a more grounded, relatable, multidimensional character when that happens. Yeah, I think Dragunov would have that. That he would qualify, right? Because he just came back from injury.
Yeah. You can. There's no rules. It's just who ended the year way better than you thought they would based on their journey.
Yeah,
I mean, it's open. It's open in that way.
Yeah, I think I'd probably put him over Charlotte, but I think
Charlotte's
on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. I think most people would Dragunov ahead. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't. Now I'm getting inspired to do a poll and see what people say. Jason from Australia says it got about a 3-hour show. How many curious fans of WWE, so to speak, are like, I might get into this, and then they realize the commitment, and they're like, I can't do this every week, so they don't watch or just watch occasionally. Well, that's kind of your AEW story, Javier. Yeah, and Mark Biscotti says, I stopped watching Raw when it was 3 hours. What you're calling watered down, I call straight up cash grab. It's not based on a huge roster needing more exposure. They haven't done enough to justify it. So, yeah, that's her. All right. Anything else you want to bring up, Javier, before we do our sign off here?
I mean, there was the one The one thing I did not like about the Carmelo Hayes match is the fact they kept cutting the crowd, man. I hate that. In the middle of the match,
Yeah.
like there's even a line where Corey, after like a false finish, where Corey says you can see Carmelo's heart break at that moment, and I'm like, no, Corey, I can't see that because they cut to a bunch of dumbasses in the screen.
Yeah.
They cut away the moment that he kicked out.
And there's people going to the shows going, I want to be on camera, so I'm going to performatively act shocked and amazed. And that it's like watching funny videos online now. It's like, well, is it AI? Because it's less funny if it's AI, and it's less funny if it's a fan who's posturing for the camera to try to be on TV. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Please hit the like button and also comment below on the show. Anything you agree, disagree on, get a conversation going with other listeners. And also subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. As always, volunteers are welcome if you want to help round out our coverage of articles for PWTorch.com. That is generally the portal and path to earning or deserving co-hosting shows on our podcast and YouTube network. So if you're interested in doing a written coverage, TV reports, Smackdown hits and misses is open right now. ROH, TNA, we've got some open slots there, other ideas. Drop us a line. If you've listened this long, you're a candidate to be, if you listen to the end, obviously a lot of people listen to the end don't want to write, but if you are watching us to the end and not just watching 5 minutes and tuning us out, you're probably a good candidate if you can write or aspire to be part of the team to help us out. kellerwade@gmail.com is where you would apply if you're interested in being part of the team. I haven't mentioned that in a while. It's the end of the year. Maybe one of your New Year's resolutions is to get a little more involved in wrestling, in pro wrestling. And this is an avenue and a window to do that. Javier, thanks again. We'll talk to you next time.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Did not get to say those. So.
Yep. Happy New Year, everybody.